What's up, guys? Army-Firedawg back, and today, today, I have a review video for you of the Edifier P293s. These are their premier in-ear monitors. These guys only go for about $40, so very easy on your pocket, and for the price, pretty good in comparison to everything else. Let's dive into it. So as always, I start with the construction. And the construction is pretty nice, actually. The monitors are built pretty taut and nice. Like, I don't have any issues. It's definitely cheap plastic, as you can see on here. I mean, it's your standard plastic for this price range, but it's still, I think they can handle a good drop or two. Actually, on that note, I know they're durable because I accidentally stepped on these and I felt like I pierced my foot, so they're built nice. The cable is very flat, but shock resistant and tangle resistant. I can fold them up, and out they come, minus that little thing right there, which you just have to do that. So, big note on that side. Going down a little bit, there's also a microphone on this guy, and I was very surprised. I received so many compliments on the audio quality of the mic that actually, I think this microphone was better than that of my Bowers & Wilkins P7s. Like, I consistently got, hey, this is a great mic. What headphones are you testing when I was using this? And I said, no, just little $40 earbuds. They were like, wow, nice. My same reaction. So those need a good microphone, but don't want to spend a lot of money. Edifier P293s. That's actually been it on the construction side. So let's talk about the comfort. So immediately you'll notice these have a very nicely angled horn, which fits beautifully in your ear. Like, it's very, very comfortable. They stay in your ear with third-party tips. The tips that came with these, before I go any further, did not stay on my ear. They didn't seal. I couldn't get nothing with the supplied tips from here. I was unfortunately out of the Comply memory foam tips that would fit on these. These require the 200 size. I don't have any more of those. I just have the 400 and 500, so they just came right off. So I actually ended up trying, believe it or not, Klipsch tips. The super small horn, you can see it right there. The same thing that the Shure's, they have the super, super tiny horns. Actually, these were able to stretch enough to go over the P293s, and they stayed on very well. Now, with the Klipsch tips on, they stayed in and was very comfortable. So I had no issues with the oval Klipsch tips. But going back to the comfort, with the Klipsch tips, they stayed in my ear. I didn't have any issues with them. I kept them in for quite a few hours at a time. Actually, about 1 hour and a half to 2 hours, as long as I had these. I usually average about an hour listening duration. The sound on these just wasn't my cup of tea, but I'll get on that in a second. And I could sleep with these. On that note, before I go any further, these are incredibly flush, as you can see. So I had no problem laying even pillow side with these in my ear. None whatsoever. So that was very nice. But, as mentioned a little bit ago, I said the sound wasn't really my cup of tea. And the reason for such is, for those of you who've been following me for quite a while know, I really, really, really do not like the V-shaped sound curve. It is absolutely not my forte. I like more of a forward, mid-approach, or very warm sounding headphone. Not bassy, warm. Very nice emphasis on the lower mids, upper bass range. Actually, the whole mids and the upper bass line. I just like the feel of the vocals. I like a nice soul, nice relaxing presence to a headphone. So when you take the opposite of that spectrum and dive it way down here, or in case of the Edifiers, way down there, it just wasn't for me. Now, the soundstage was pretty small. It didn't have a big soundstage, but the audio cues, with respect to a smaller audience, and I'll touch on that in just a second, was actually pretty impressive. Like, when I was listening to, I'll use Five Finger Death Punch, it's not a whole lot of moving pieces, so I could give good separation between the instruments. Now, what I mentioned about a smaller audience is, if you go, instead of Five Finger Death Punch, you go towards, like, I'll use the piano guys, the live recording of the Beethoven's Five Secrets. Huge, large crowd behind you, all around you. You have instruments everywhere. these, I've never experienced this before. I don't really know words to put it on, but they sounded confused. And I know what you're thinking. I'm trying to put words into that myself, but it's like, and the most immediate problem, I had it a couple times during when various instruments were playing, it came up, but especially when there was a lot of people applauding, is like these couldn't narrow in on what they should, or what they can focus on, what they had to leave out. The things would start hyphenating, things would be recessed, and it'd reverse itself. I had no idea like what was going on with these. And it happened consistently every time I went to a larger, a lot of moving pieces, like a larger orchestra or a lot of audience applauding. I always got that effect, and I don't know how to put words into it. It just sounded like the earphones were confused, and I had no idea what to focus on. And that was even with plugging these into my own X1S amp and DAC. I still had that result, both with and without, so I don't know what to mention on that one. But let me dive into the individual aspects of it. So starting with treble. The treble worked a little bit too hard to give the mainstream audience or the average listener the I heard things I've never heard before experience. In essence, now I know I have a pretty good idea what I should and should not be hearing in a musical piece. And I could tell a lot of the highs they just don't sound realistic at all. Like they sound a little bit too exaggerated for what they should sound like. And for mine, that kind of irritated me a little bit. Not horribly, but it off-put me some. Now, for an average consumer who doesn't quite care too much about this realistic or that kind of detail, I am confident that these will be a really good sound for them. Like that you will have that I've heard things I've never heard before cliche. You will get that. The average consumer will get that with these, even at the $40 price range. So now moving on to the mids. I can't give any good things about the mids. They are very, very, very recessed. They're just very hollow sounding. I unfortunately don't have any good things to talk about the mids on here. I don't. So I'll go towards the bass, which is very, very nice. The bass is punchy, it's potent, it's not tight, but it's powerful, and is really awesome. Now, again, I'm not too much of a bass head, but when I'm listening to like Five Finger Death Punch, The Pride, or Lift Me Up, Bullet for My Valentine's, not Bullet for My Valentine, Avenged Sevenfold's Hail to the King, has a strong bass presence to make you want to just bob your head and tap your feet, kind of good beat going. These really do a good job of emphasizing that. So yeah, I think the bass on these, they did a really good job. Bass head would actually find good refuge in this if you're looking for a lower budget, or even if you're the type of person who's hypersensitive to peaking treble. I think you might find solace in the P293s. I think they do you just. So in conclusion, with the P293s from Edifier, they're a pretty overall solid monitor. I wouldn't put them above any other in-ear monitor at their price, but I also for sure would not put them below. They definitely hold their own ground. They do have their strengths, but they also have their weaknesses. I don't think they're for the audiophile crowd or the audio enthusiast crowd, just because they're not good for critical listening. But your average consumer or your mainstream audience, I am confident that they will love the sound of the P293s or their previous model they sent me, the over-ear H850s. Anything from Edifier that I've heard, I really do believe the mainstream audience or the average consumer will greatly enjoy, especially with their price per their quality ratio. But guys, that sums up my review of the Edifier P293s. Again, I want to send a huge thanks to Edifier for sending me these in exchange for an honest review. Definitely check them out. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. If you liked the video, definitely hit that like button, guys. I greatly appreciate your support, and y'all have most certainly been hitting me up in the comment section lately, and I love talking to you guys. Y'all have some awesome point of views, products you want me to try, reasons you want me to try those, things that you like in audio. I've had a couple good conversations going back and forth of why some people really don't agree with some of my decisions on audio and why they think the sound is. I don't take offense to that. I love hearing, that's what makes audio great, guys, is how everyone's different. That's what makes this hobby so fulfilling, and I love hearing y'all's impressions and takes. That's something that's drawn me into doing this professionally, not just here on YouTube, but my career outside is here as well. I love it. It's what I always want to do. Well, that and firefighting. Firefighting is my ultimate dream. But anyway, I digress. Guys, tighten and smash the subscribe button. Keep yourself on the field end, because I got a bunch of new products for you. Earlier today, I just unboxed the AudioQuest Nighthawk, and it is a heavy hitter. Still getting my feel on it. It's pretty bassy, but my gosh, is this smooth. As always, my name's Army-Firedawg, and most importantly, guys, stay safe.